To call the town board meeting of the town of Lake Mills to order today, February 13th at 8 p.m. here at the town hall. The notice of the meeting was posted at the town hall, at the North End Boat Launch, also on the cul-de-sac at Finch Brothers Road, and on the town's website. Item number 2 is the adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt February's agenda with the alteration of switching under application reviews C with G, so that would move daybreak down to the end of the new applications or the application reviews, and just move everybody up a notch. So,
Does everyone have an agenda?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to tell you that the reason I did that was because none of these people are actually here. They're all available by phone.
Okay.
we'll get it done.
Okay.
All in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. The agenda is approved as amended. Item 3, approval of the minutes from the January meeting. Sarah, I thought you did a fantastic job of capturing everything that happened,
Make a motion to approve.
and I'll second that. Is there any discussion on the minutes from the January 9th meeting? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the monthly board meeting from January, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. The minutes are approved. Item number 4, approval of the treasurer's report. I will motion to approve the February 2018 treasurer's report.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion or any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Treasurer's report is approved. Thank you. Item 5, approval of the general funding vouching.
I'll make a motion to approve February's disbursements of $1,755,502.
No, 75.
Oh, yes, $775,502.01.
I'll second that. All in favor of, is there any discussion, any questions?
The salt brine, that was going to be an in and out back. What
Well,
were we gonna do
we
there?
were billed for some salt brine that should have been billed to the city of Lake Mills, and so what we decided was the $372.58 that we were billed, these guys have decided they will generate another check rather than to give us that credit, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Straighten that out that
We'll
way.
void that one and just reissue it next month.
Okay.
For the right amount.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the general fund vouching, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. The vouching is carried.
Okay, I just want to say there's 3 delinquent personal property taxes. D&L Investment for $2,013.31. Finish Line Custom Construction for $269.67. And Crowville Oasis for $179.14. For a total of $2,462.12. I sent them each a letter.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Appreciate that. Busy time of the year for you. Thank you for all your extra help. Thank you. Item 6, reports. Matt is not here with us. He's had some surgery this month too. So today we have a stand-in, but he's a pretty good one. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Kevin Miller, one of the sergeants for the police department. So I got the printout here, the monthly report for our police department. All of our officers have worked a total of 60 hours this month. During that time, they had handled 4 actual complaints, spent 6 hours on those complaints. They handled 2 traffic crashes, had a total of 34 traffic stops, that resulting in 1 repair notice, 17 warnings, 21 traffic citations. During that time, they ran a total of 14 and a half hours of radar speeding enforcement. It issued 2 municipal ordinance violation citations. They had 11 residence and business checks, 17 park checks and 2 extra patrol requests that were monitored.
Anything else that you would want to bring up, Kevin?
If you guys haven't noticed, we have a new squad truck out there now. We had the old brown one for the last 10 years. I don't know if that was talked about in the before meeting, but the new squad is really sharp. It's a F-150. So if you see that going around town, that's our new squad. You won't see the brown one anymore. So it's pretty nice.
Appreciate it. I appreciate the help you gave us getting it all set up, so thank you. And I hear you're taking Sarah on a ride to the,
No, Ryan is.
Ryan is taking you.
We're gonna get the boat patrol grant audit taken care of on Thursday.
All right. Thank you.
So I got
Thanks for your help. Appreciate it. Item B, the Joint Rock Lake Committee report. Don't see anybody here from the Joint Rock Lake Committee. Item C, the Planning Commission report.
Yeah, we met last Tuesday, February 6th. We had a couple items that were discussed. We'll be discussing 8A, which passed 5-0 on the Sean Austin and 7081 Rock Lake Road application, and as well as 8B that passed 5-0 on the rezoning by Gary Anderson at N6345 County Road S. We did have, it was postponed, the North Shore Estates was pushed off. They weren't ready yet. They were still having some issues with the city as far as their turn radius and the cul-de-sac and emergency vehicles, so. And then we reviewed the raising ordinance that we put out there. So there's some changes that need to be made. It's just some verbiage and what have you. And then probably just submit that for the next board meeting to look at, I guess. That'd probably be the next.
Great. I really appreciate you working on the raising ordinance.
Would that be on the next Plan Commission meeting, agenda 2, or just here?
No, it should just be on the board.
Here.
Yeah.
Because you guys already talked about the verbiage.
We talked, everyone reviewed it, went through it, and then
Okay.
I got a bunch of edits to make, yeah. So, and I didn't want to necessarily include it on this meeting.
Do you think that it's too early in the process to ask for some legal review?
Oh, I think it's definitely feasible to do that, sure.
Maybe we should run it by our building inspector.
Okay. I don't have any of the numbering system set up or anything like that yet, so I don't even want to take a crack at that, but that's why I kind of wanted to run through the town board first, but
Okay,
That's
let's
fine.
do that then. If
Yeah.
that's what you're more comfortable with, then we'll, you
Yeah.
guys can entertain it on your agenda next month, and then we can entertain it in March too. Unless you think that the planning committee doesn't need to have any input on it.
well, I
They've
think,
given theirs.
I think they've given theirs.
Okay.
I think they'd be more than after we have our review to get another look at it if needed, you know.
I had a call today just by chance from our building inspector, and they have again replaced the staff. So we are now back to having,
Tony's gone?
Tony was here for a month, and now he is going to, I didn't ask,
Okay.
but we're gonna have,
Chris?
Chris again. So he's taking on 3 different townships, and I said, that was good, you're already familiar with it. So maybe if you get your edits done, you could leave it here for him, or send it to him by email. We can get it to him so that he can have a chance to look.
Okay,
I think that would be prudent, and then we can go for a legal review.
all right.
All right, thanks, Lee, thanks for taking that on. Item D, any other committee reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, the period of public comment and questions. And because our meeting got so lengthy last time and there were so many comments and questions, I would like to suggest tonight that we have a 3-minute limit on any public comment that is made in this portion of the agenda, and that rule will stick. So you have 3 minutes to express yourself. As we go down the agenda, there are many other items. I will not allow any discussion as we go through the application reviews. So, if there is anyone who would like to speak in public comment or questions for anything that is not on the agenda, please speak now. No one wants to make a comment. All right, we'll move on. Item 8, review of applications that have been filed. A is the discussion and decision on an application for a variance by Sean Austin for N7081 Rock Lake Road. Sean, you're here. Why don't you give us a little update? Right.
Yes, I'm looking to put up a shed on my property, and I'm a little close to a freeway fence, and there was questions about the DOT building so close, and I received a letter that I can think you all have, stating that there's no properties going to be needed in any future projects that they do, and the ones that they have scheduled. So,
I was a little confused. I received the same letter last March, right prior to their meeting. I don't really see in this letter where it says, Sean, that they don't need any more, that they have given you permission to do this. This is simply a notice of the design and the survey that they are doing and what they are proposing.
right, and then this letter says that they won't have to obtain any more property in any future projects.
What is the date on that letter?
March 31st, 2017. They talk about the two bridges that are going to be worked on.
Yes, and they talk about Short, Elliott, and Hendrickson, but I don't see where it says they don't need any more property. I don't see where they're signing off on this.
Do you know where the 150-foot line is at all? Did they flag that out?
No, I measured it off and it ends up way past my driveway.
The 150-foot length.
Right. And anything to the east of my building site is much too steep to put the building.
Well, I understand that, but you're still building too close to the state's right-of-way. See what I'm saying? I don't believe that you have the proof that they are not going to ask you for that.
So I would have,
That they're saying that you have a right to build there 14 feet from their property line.
but they're saying that it's okay because they won't have to obtain any property from my side. If they do anything, it would go towards the center because of the amount of medium.
I've read this letter over 3-4 times. I don't know where you see that.
I didn't see that either.
See, I don't see anything in there that says that. I don't know where you're picking up on that. I think we still have a question there, Sean, about your building in that right-of-way, or close to that right-of-way.
So what would you need for me to,
Well, I think that what we need to
Another letter.
do, first of all, is communicate with Brandon, who is the engineer on this, Brendan Hager, and I have his email. I can easily ask him these questions. But you still need to apply for a variance because the setback that you need to hit for the county is much greater than the 14 feet that you have.
but if I get a variance, I got a variance from the committee, I get a variance from you, with the DOT being okay with it,
Yeah, but you don't have the proof that the Department of Transportation is okay with that. You
Okay.
need to hit that county setback, and I understand the hardship of your lot, but we need to have confirmation from the state that they're not going to need, or that they're going to approve this variance. The county's going to ask you the same thing that I'm asking you.
and that's why I got this letter from last year when you asked me the same question.
But the letter says nothing about the setback. There's nothing about the setback that you need to have, that the county is going to require. And then if you want a variance, you're going to have the state approve that too. See what I'm saying? And we've got some time to work on this, Sean. I'm not saying that this is not feasible, but you need to go at this with Brendan and make sure that they don't need any more property. I know that's disappointing, but that's
Well,
kind of where we gotta
that's
go
what I
at.
did. Okay,
You don't have that letter. This is the general letter they sent to everyone in that neighborhood about what they were doing and what they were surveying. It has nothing to do specifically with your property and the variance you need. I will help you with this. I will go back to Brendan and ask him, all right? Can we leave it at that? You paid this fee, and we know that you applied for this before, and so we're going to waive this fee and give you this check back.
which one is that, the $100 one?
Yes, this is the fee that you paid in January of this year, but you had already paid a fee on this in the fall.
Yes, I paid 2
And
fees.
so we're going to waive this fee and void this,
Okay,
but let's go forward, and I will talk to Brandon about this, and then we'll go from there,
okay,
okay?
yep.
And it's not uncommon, the Newville Church, when they redid the front of their church, they had to do the same thing. They had to go to DOT and get a letter that it was okay to be in their setback.
Right, and that's what I thought I did.
Maybe you have the wrong letter.
No, this is the one they sent me. This is the one they sent me after I talked with them. And
And
but
is
I
that
talked
the
with-
same letter that I have here,
I don't know.
dated March 31?
Is it the one that I have from my application?
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, then it's the same letter.
Right, here's your check, but let's go back. I will go ahead and get a hold of him and talk to him. Do you have a cell phone number that I can reach you at?
Yes, 920-723-7287.
I'm sorry, that's disappointing, but
I know,
we
I-
need another month to get on top of this, all right?
Okay,
If you have another letter dated another date than March 31st, produce it, and then we'll talk about it, all right?
right, okay,
Okay, moving on.
thank you.
Item B, discussion and decision on an application for rezoning by Gary Anderson for N 6345 County Highway S. Gary, I see you here.
My name is Gary Anderson. I live on Shorewood Hills Road. This address is for Leroy Shield. I'm trying to purchase about 4.5 acres behind my house that owns to Leroy, or Leroy owns. And it's all mostly lowland. There's a little sliver of corn, not very much, but we want to draw a straight line, not a crooked line. And I want to change that to preferably a prairie, but I have to work with the county on what they want me to do because the stream runs through there. So that's my intention.
And so you are seeking the rezoning. It's a contingent of your purchase?
Yes.
You guys have any questions for Gary? So really what we're going to be doing is,
We don't have a decision sheet on this one yet from the county.
no. I just wondered, without the actual purchase, but it is a condition of the purchase.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that happens all the time.
Yes, yes. I don't have any problems with it. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't.
No.
The only way you can separate that off is to go to a natural resource when it's
Yes.
to an A3. So I'll make a motion to approve the rezone from an A1 to a natural resource for Gary Anderson on Sherwood Hills Road for approximately 4.4 acres.
And I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the application for rezoning for Gary, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. I think that'll be a real improvement, Gary.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
It's all ragweed now, so I can fix that, I hope.
Nice.
Thanks a lot.
All right, moving on. Now we'll entertain item D on our agenda. Discussion and decision on an application for special events for MACC Fund, which is the MAC Fund for the Trek 100 on June 9th, 2018. I guess everything is pretty much in order. This group has been coming to us for years for this special event permit. The only thing that really hangs in the balance is what the shape of State Highway 89 is going to be in front of the town hall and the town of Lake Mills, so. But these people have all been warned of this, they know about the construction, and so I guess we'll just kind of take that as it comes, as June 9th gets a little closer.
And Colleen's not here, right?
Yes, but if
She's available by phone.
we could talk to her if we
See,
need to.
they got the route going up Airport Road.
Yeah, we
They
made
never-
them change it last year.
Yeah.
And this is a reprint. And then there's also no insurance certificate.
It's coming.
Okay.
I know, I told her, it's a little early, but
Yeah,
everybody sent
yeah.
their stuff in,
Good to
so
get it on the agenda.
It'll
you
be
get-
contingent on that for sure.
Sure, you could, Colleen, they can run down that brand new Newville Road that we just put up and
They'll be happy.
down Highway B like they did last
Oh, you got another map of that? I don't have one of those. I never got a packet.
Sorry. Take a look at it.
So I will make a motion to approve the special event permit or application for the MAC Fund on June 9th from approximately 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. with the contingent of the certificate of insurance and also the changing of the routes. We do not have two-way traffic on Cemetery Road.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving a special event for the MAC Fund for the Trek 100 on June 9th, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Look forward to hearing from Colleen with her insurance certificate. And I guess we'll have to do a little work as we see how things shape up the first part of the summer. Item E then is the discussion and decision on an application for a special event by Race Day Events LLC for the Lake Mills Triathlon on June 3rd, 2018.
I did receive a certificate of insurance in the mail after the package was on for this. It actually, oh wait, it does say Lake Mills Triathlon.
Race Day Events.
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause I have on my packet.
Oh, I got another one. They must have, they sent, this one
Updated
came
it.
directly from the insurance
Oh,
company.
okay.
Yeah.
This again is an event that we have hosted in the town of Lake Mills just about every year in the city of Lake Mills. They've been good players. Glad they're coming in early. I would motion to approve the application for Race Day Events LLC for the Lake Mills Triathlon on June 3rd, 2018.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the Race Day event, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. The event is approved. Item F, discussion and decision on an application for a special event by Race Day Events for The Ride on September 23rd, 2018. Same group, right?
Same group, yeah.
Got their insurance certificate.
That one is gonna have to be contingent.
Okay.
And it's contingent on the check too.
Oh, so you haven't received any
No,
funds?
they sent me all this electronically.
All right.
It might be in the mailbox right now, I just haven't gotten it.
All right, so I will make a motion to approve a special event for Race Day Events for The Ride on September 23rd, 2018.
Second.
Is there any discussion
Make that contingent on,
on all the paperwork
Insurance
being in
and
order?
okay.
And then again, all in favor of approving the ride, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Special event permit is granted for September 23rd. Item G, discussion and decision on an application for a special events for the AIDS Resource Center of Wisconsin for the AIDS Ride of Wisconsin on July 29th, 2018.
Now, that one, I would suggest just holding off on because there's too many things missing.
Yeah,
I
Okay.
asked her for them, so I put it on the agenda just in case it arrived, but it hasn't.
okay.
Okay.
Kind of a short route.
Yeah, that too.
We'll just move that to the agenda for March then. Thank you, Sarah, for being on top of that. It is good to get those things on the calendar ahead of time. Now, we will entertain item C, the discussion and decision on a conditional use application by Daybreak Foods Incorporated for reconstruction and expansion of a chicken pullet and layer facility at County Highway A and Crossman Road. Gentlemen, why don't you introduce yourselves and give us your short presentation, and then if we have questions, we can ask them.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Hope and the board for letting us take just a few minutes tonight. My name is Rick Grado. This is Keith Kulo. And we're both from Daybreak Foods, kind of longtime members of the organization. I just want to I'm going to keep this as brief as possible because I think a lot of people have heard most of what you're going to hear tonight, but this is probably more of a recap for the board. I took the liberty of putting together a shorter PowerPoint presentation than we had the other night. And I'm going to kind of run through it rather quickly just so that, for the sake of brevity. So, so hopefully it will all go flawlessly for me. If you'd like to take a break, you can do it now.
You'll get it together, Rick.
Didn't see one.
Okay, let's see what's going on. There we go. Okay. All right. Is that good? Can everyone see okay? All right. So again, thank you, and I thank the board, and I thank the community for being able to show up tonight and listen a little bit more to what we have to say. This is without a doubt a recap of what a lot of you have heard over several meetings that we've done, a pretty consistent presentation on what we're doing. We haven't changed it a whole lot from a few months ago when I was in here and talking to the same town board just to give kind of a startup presentation on this. So what we're here for tonight, though, is very specific. And this is requesting the support by the town board of a conditional use request, permit request that we have in front of the Jefferson County Plan Commission. And the conditional use request specifically has to do with the ability for us to build relative to the number of animal units that we have on our site. Before the current rules were in place, basically Daybreak Foods was kind of like grandfathered into the process. Now that we want to reconstruct the site and improve the site, it does require us to go through this conditional use process because we basically go over the threshold of animal units. Now, I'm going to give you some crazy numbers here, but the threshold is like 300 animal units, okay? A cow is 1.4 animal units, so it gives you kind of some concept. Our request is for 27,500 animal units, okay? But one cow equals over 100 chickens. So that's kind of how the animal units work for the county and actually for the state as far as that's concerned. But that's what brings us here tonight. We would like the support from the board of the conditional use permit, which will then influence the county's decision, which will then give us the ability to acquire our building permit. That's essentially the process. So what I'm going to talk about here briefly is the site again, and I'm sure this is somewhat familiar to everyone, but just to give you an idea what's going on, here's the current site with the 9 buildings that are existing. At the end of the day, those 9 will be gone. Okay? There is 2 COLA buildings, one here and one right here. Those will also be gone. There is these are 3 of the current manure storage buildings. That will be gone. Okay? What's colored in green up here is the current processing plant. We plan to leave that there, although we won't use it as a processing plant. We will probably repurpose it at some point. It's a nice building. We're just not sure what we want to do with it at this point. Right here is a feed mill and grain storage. We plan to remove the feed mill portion of that and just keep the grain storage and the drying that is done there right now. Eventually that will go away as well. It's a pretty tired mill. We'd like to try to get a few more years out of it. This is the current wastewater lagoon. That particular lagoon will not change in size. Originally we were looking at doing an expansion. After recalculating, we found out we did not have to. Down here, we are going to remove one of these 3 buildings and keep these 2 only for emergency backup, okay? Over here is the new site where 5 new layer buildings would be built. This is the manure storage for those layers, back behind it. This is the new processing plant location. This is a new feed mill location, so this right here is, just to give you some, if you haven't figured it out, that's Crossman Road, and here's Highway A. This is north up here. This blue circle is eventually, we're going to be coming in front of this board and also the plan commission for the town to talk more about a conveyor we would like to propose putting across from the feed mill to the layer site. This blue line that you see right here, and it kind of goes up like this, that would be a processed wastewater line that we would like to take from the plant, go under the road. This would be completely buried and go up and connect to a current lift station that would take this water over to the current lagoon system. Right now, that plant uses that lift station to do that very thing, and we would intersect with that. So we've done the calculations, we found out we really didn't need to expand that, which was kind of good for a lot of reasons. It'll actually improve the functionality of that lagoon system, because right now, one of our challenges, oddly enough, is we don't have enough loading in it. You have to have good, consistent loading to make a good wastewater system work. That's one of the things we don't have. Egg wash water is a tough one, because it's not, it doesn't feed the bugs as well as you'd like to think it would. So I just kind of made a quick list here that I want to go over. So I've gone through the site layout. I've gone through the proposed site layout for you. This is the position of the over-the-road conveyor. This would be the position of the processed wastewater pipeline. Wetland delineation, what does that mean? We hired our engineers to go through and look at all the potential wetlands that are in the area where we would construct. And in that process, they found some, okay? And then what happens is you have to then get a certified person from the DNR to go out and actually look at those wetlands. And then they'll go out and say, yeah, that's actually a wetland, or no, it's not, or this part of it is and this part of it isn't. Then the DNR certifies that, and then they set the setbacks. So then we have to build based on all those answers put together, okay? And that's actually part of what's called an NOI, which is a notice of intent process that we already went through with the DNR, for them to allow us to be able to even build any of this around any wetland that might be there. Air quality permitting, so we're in the process of that right now, and that's basically doing an inventory of anything that would be an emission on the site, and then that is looked at by each element, and then it eventually goes to the DNR, and they'll look at it and make a determination what and if would have to have an air quality permit. The well water permitting, that's we're in the process of that. We plan to put 7 wells on the site, new wells. The wells that are there now will go away. There will be 4 right here, see those black dots? So that's 4 wells that would feed these 5 buildings and that processing plant. And then right, Keith, where is it? Right here. There's 3 wells right there. And those 3 wells would feed these 2 pullet buildings, those are new ones, this new pullet building, and then this existing pullet building. That's about 155,000 conventional layers. These 3 pullet buildings are the cage-free type that will that's where we'll rear the birds up to 17 weeks old to put into these buildings. In a past presentation, I mentioned that you have to actually raise a pullet. If you're going to go cage-free with it, you actually have to raise it as cage-free. Because otherwise they just won't do very well in the environment. They actually won't know how to move around. They're not used to it. So our hard surface roadways and parking lots, anything that's going to have a driveway or a road or a parking lot will all be hard surface, dust-free. We're doing that for 2 reasons. Number 1, for you. Number 2, for us. It's a selfish thing. Dust is not a good thing for us relative to biosecurity. We want to cut down on the dust as much as you would like us to, so everything will be paved. We have been working, sorry, push the right button here. We have been working with the Lake Mills Fire Department and the EMS. Actually worked with the fire chief, and we went through and he told me exactly where he'd like every fire hydrant and what kind of gallons per minute and everything that he would like to have. Had a discussion about, do they have equipment to reach these buildings? He said yes, they have a new ladder truck. And they would actually go out and do regular practicing on these sites for us, which they do now, by the way, at this current site. Also started talking with the EMS, and they'll tell us what we need to do on the site to prepare and make it more accessible for them to do things. You know, biosecurity can be a good thing for us, but it could be a challenge when you have to bring emergency vehicles in. So at our other sites, we have a process for that. Every door is numbered, so they know right where to go. If a person's hurt, they know how to get them out quickly, safely. Try to, you know, abide by our biosecurity where they can. We've had discussions with the Jefferson County Highway and Engineering Department. By the way, on your item number D, which was the Trek 100, I got a call from the county department, and they said, hey, Rick, if this project starts up when you want it to, is that going to be a problem for the Trek 100? I said, gosh, Brian, when is that? And he said, June 9th. I said, is that a Saturday? He said, yeah. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, we'll make sure it's not a problem. We'll work with it, no issue. So we're kind of right on the same page as far as that goes. Because there, you know, very well could be some construction going on in this area and on in this area. And if I didn't see the map, but the way you described it, it's kind of going to go like this or something.
Right.
So I think it's going to go right by it, is the way it sounds. And lastly, we're working very closely on preliminary plans with the utilities. That's basically We Energies, where we would get our natural gas from and our electricity from. So we've started discussions with them, not only how they would be prepared to take on the extra loading and stuff like that, and of course they like the idea because they're going to sell more power. But you know, we're going to pay a lot because we have to do a lot of infrastructure upgrades with them. So we're working with them hand in hand to determine how we would proceed with that.
You getting rid of the barn and house then, is that still happening?
Oh, I'm sorry, what's that?
The barn and the house?
The barn's gonna stay, the house will.
Oh, thank you, yes, exactly. The barn will stay, the green will stay, the house will go. Yeah, we're actually going to keep the house as a construction office until the site is complete.
But the barn has to stay.
But the barn will stay. In fact, we're kind of trying to figure out what to do with it. I'm sure you've seen it. It's a great barn. This is something that I know you've seen a lot too, and I apologize for duplication, but you know, really the plan hasn't changed. This is an artist rendering of what the layer houses would look like. The pull-up houses will be similar, but they'll only be 2 stories instead of, these are technically 4. It's really not a 4-story building, but there are 4 levels inside the house, and the pull-up buildings will only be 2. So they just won't be that high.
So we
Okay.
can have 40-foot sidewall, and I'm assuming it's gonna be 412 pitch. By the time you get to the top of the cupolas, which the buildings are gonna be so tall, you really can't see them anyway, are you gonna be, what, about 80 feet high?
No, it's about 54 if I recall.
54?
Yeah, because the buildings, believe it or not, and this sounds kind of funny, but they're only 120 feet wide. They're not as wide as you might think. They're 50 foot aside where the flocks are on each side, and then there's a 20-foot front around the center. So it really, you know, and they're steel buildings, by the way. They're full steel
Which is
buildings.
a-
So that way they can pitch it less, you know,
Yeah.
to accomplish the same.
And then the fire risk is.
Right. One point, you see how this kind of jumps up there, Dave, like that? That's actually not going to happen. We're taking that out.
Okay.
Out of the
Yeah.
design. It really didn't accomplish enough for us, and if anything, we wanted a lower building.
If it's gonna cost you extra money and it doesn't
There's
perform.
really no
with
value in
function,
it. You know, it's kind of an aesthetic thing, but, yeah, whatever.
You're gonna see the side, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. That's just it. I mean, how much are you really going to see? By the way, this vegetation and this kind of thing, this isn't there just for the picture. We actually want vegetation around. We like it as a kind of natural air filtration, both in and off the site. So
Won't that promote birds? You don't want birds around your building.
we don't want birds, no, but there is value. There are certain trees that we can plant that will, that we use at our other sites right now that don't attract the fowl as much as others. It's more the waterfowl that is the bigger challenge for us actually than wild birds. Although I wouldn't say that it's not an issue, but.
Right, yeah.
That's 120 by 400, and then 40 foot high side of it.
Right, that 40 feet is, let's see if I can do it here, it's from here to there. Okay, and the 120 is from here to like on the other side of the building, so like right there.
Yeah, then everything else is 400, the rest of it, the long.
The buildings, boy, I'm gonna take a stab at this, I think they're like 580 if I remember right, is the length. Does that sound right, Keith?
Yeah,
I'm-
565.
It's been a while since I looked at that number, but I think that's what it is. Okay, Real quickly, this is some of the current odor abatement, because I know this is a concern and it's something I would definitely want the board to be taking into consideration. So things that we have done currently with odor abatement, we purchased the barn in 2008. In 2016, we finally got out from underneath a bad contract with the original company that was handling the composting. And so, in fact, kind of like almost on the same day, we bought a very expensive machine for starting to turn compost. We have purchased, it's already been delivered on site. Keith, maybe it's been put in position, I know you guys were working on it today, that within 2 weeks, we'll have a 2-stage cremator for all of our mortality. Up till now, in fact today, we still compost them in. Hearing the concerns from the community, we decided let's look at what other options there are, because maybe it does put another, just a bad odor into the air. We don't need any more of that. So we purchased this. We're eventually going to purchase 2 more for when the site is complete. But this one will handle all the mortality right now. It's a 2-stage system, so there's a burner for the initial mortality, and then there's an afterburner that burns off all the fumes, odors, and smoke that would come off of it. It puts the temperature up to like 1,300 degrees in the stack, and so when you're done, you get virtually no odors or no smoke. We did a lot of research on these things. We found a company in Minnesota that makes one, that there's companies up in northern Wisconsin that have converted all over to this type for the same reason. It has a clean emission. And of course, that would be part of our air permitting as well. Composting best practices. So one of the things that we've been finding is we're trying to learn to do a better job. 4-day removal means we only pull the manure out of the barns every 4 days. We're currently buying wood chips by the semi-load, and we're adding those in to help dry the manure. The rule of thumb is pretty easy. The drier manure, the less the odor. I mean, it's like substantial difference. Dry manure, less odor, no question about it. So we need to dry it as quickly as possible. The new technology that we'll bring into the site is going to do just that. But in the meantime, these are other things we're doing. We're turning the compost as little as possible. So we bought this big machine and we thought it was like, great, this is going to solve everything. Oh, it didn't solve anything. Because one of the things we found out is you can't use it too much. Because every time you turn it, number one, you're slowing down the composting process. And number two, you're kind of like aerosoling all the odors that would be in there. So the trick is, turn it as little as possible, but still to keep the compost process going. And of course, you check that with temperature and all that kind of stuff. So to do that, we're going to only do it Monday through Wednesday. Well, what's magic about those days? Nothing except that my hunch is you'd rather we don't do it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay? So being cognizant of people living around the area to try to reduce any odors that will come out in that process, because there still would be some, we're going to narrow it down to just 3 days a week. Same thing with hauling manure out. It's the same thing. Once you put a loader into the pile, right, we're going to set that pile. Let's only do that on days that doesn't affect people's weekends and any time like that. So we're going to avoid Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays whenever possible. After last week's meeting, and I give Anita's group a great credit, it was a very good meeting. I think we all learned a lot in that meeting. One of the things that we agreed to with some of the local neighbors, we will call them if we want to break one of these rules, and we'll call and talk about it before we do it. Because this is our own rule, but we want to make sure that we're communicating. So we've actually taken phone numbers so we can communicate with you.
Rick, I'm sorry, just real quick. Are you going to make any adjustments for holidays and long weekends? And
Oh, yes, I'm sure we will.
July on
Yeah,
Monday?
no, that's a great, yes. In other words, like if 4th of July is on a Monday or something, yeah. No, very good point. Okay, now, so what's going to happen in the future with some future design work? The pullet houses, so this is, remember I said the pullet houses are a little lower, so this is the back end of a pullet house. This little drawing here kind of shows what goes on inside. So what we do is when the pullets are in the building and in there, they actually kind of have like nesting areas. So when they're in their nesting areas, that's where they want to poop. So when they do that, we take turbines and we blow air from inside the building down across those belts, and it will actually drop the moisture level from 75%, which is typically what a bird poops at as far as moisture level, it'll take it down to 45%. Anything below 50%, you've dropped off moisture and odor levels dramatically. From there, it will be conveyed to the back of the building. It will then go through here, go up a conveyor. A truck will actually drive in here, a tarp truck. The tarp will be open, the door will be shut. It fills the truck, tarp is put back on. This is actually a drive-through. They'll drive back out and take it over to the manure building. Nothing ever sees the outside. Nothing. Okay? You won't see manure pouring out. You won't see mortality. You won't see anything. Everything will be enclosed. Not to mention, we're already reducing the moisture level.
Which, Rick, the manure building then, you're not gonna have the one that's on.
So, okay, so let me go back to that. We've done calculations, Dave, and we're trying to determine, do we need two, all right? Sorry about that, I'm kind of bouncing around here. Here we go. So, on this drawing, on their drawing, they would show another manure building right here, kind of like this one. But we've actually looked at it, and we prefer to have, sometimes less is more. So we're working to try to eliminate that, and that's why we actually took it off the drawing. We have been permitted for it from the DNR. They have passed our plans on it, but we may not need it. And it would probably be a good thing if we don't. So we're gonna try to avoid that if we can. On the plans that are going through the approval process, it is on there. But for all practical purposes, I'm talking multiple meetings lately. We've taken it off the drawing plan. I don't think we need it.
So, Rick, to dwell a little more on that, what's gonna trigger if you need that building? After a monster is created? Or are you gonna see this thing coming and spearhead and get it done?
No, so that's a good question. So here's two things. Number one, if you recall, I said we're going to keep these buildings.
Right.
Okay, we're actually going to use them for like machine storage and that, but we are going to keep them up to spec for manure storage if we need them. Our intent is to, and I'm sincere intent here, is to only use them, say if we were to get some kind of a disease or something that we did not want to cross manure from here over to this side of the road. Then we would use that. It could be used, like you said, Dave, should something get backed up, that we would have a place to go with it. If we wanted to build this in the future, we don't have much time. In other words, after 2 years, we have to go back through the siting processing.
Yeah, because any alterations.
Yeah, that is exactly right. No, if we don't start construction on that before the end of the 2 years, we lose our opportunity to build it without going through siting again. And if we really thought we had to, we would. Quite honestly, the companies that are taking manure now, more and more of them are taking them more of the time. You don't have to just wait till fall or spring. They're taking them more of the time. They're finding more customers.
Yeah, well, basically you have 3 times. Spring, when wheat comes off, middle of summer, and fall. That's about your time.
Okay.
Except for like organic growers, because they plant a little bit later, that will extend your season. Because conventional grain goes in.
We like the idea, and I think Anita asked a question one time. It's like, well, why do you need a year's worth of storage? Would you rather not store it a year? Absolutely. We'd rather have it hauled off all the time. Okay, because when it comes out of these buildings, it's going to be down to less than 20% moisture, so it's going to be dry. So we wouldn't mind somebody taking it all the time. And I think once the customers get used to some of this product, they're going to like it.
Oh, yeah, right.
They're
Yeah,
probably gonna want
'cause
more.
it'll be consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
My other thought was, just as a suggestion, I know what you're saying is, in order to have a layer barn, you have to grow pullets first. And what I'm wondering is there any chance that you could build the pullet barns and the manure barn at the same time? Because my question is, or statement would be, on the manure buildings that you're currently operating, give or take a little bit of time, you got 2 years of production here yet.
Right.
So it's already been stated a couple different times that when you took over the old leases, you had to catch up. And that didn't happen until this fall. And then it also was stated that because you didn't have the room to properly condition what's there, you already got a monster that's brewing right now. And trust me, we noticed it right now.
No,
So what I'm wondering is, can you get that building up so that you can stop that
Well,
and be a little bit better. And I know that's.
no, you're actually asking me a good question, Dave, because I'll tell you what, the short answer is yes, and here's why. At the same time, we're gonna start construction of these. The pull-up buildings don't take as long to build.
Right, you don't have the same infrastructure,
Exactly.
correct?
And we do want to start populating one as soon as possible, because when these are start to get ready, we want to fill it, okay? So to build one of these at the same time, so in other words, we'll start construction on both of these at the same time. This will be started right away, because as soon as I move layers in here, I need that anyways. So, yes, the answer is yes. This would happen, one of these would start to be built, in fact, it would be that one right there. And then this would start to be built, all at the same time.
Because actually, you
And
could
our
take,
hand chart actually showed me.
you could take that water manure, blend it with the dry manure, and have a better
Correct.
product. The more consistent to your customer,
Yeah.
because otherwise they get inconsistent.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay. Okay, now I'll go to a layer building. There are two steps for drying manure in the layer building. The first step is similar to what's in the pull-up building, which is to take turbine fans inside the building. It looks like it comes from the attic, but actually it doesn't. There's kind of a block out there. But it comes from the building, goes down across these belts, and it will drop it down to about 45% moisture. Again, it starts at about 75%, so we're reducing it down about 30% in the first step process. Almost all companies stop right there. Why? Because anything less than 50% is very easy to handle. I mean, we have farms right now that just do this and they stop. Okay? That Daybreak already has. Right. But we're going to go to a second step, and that second step is actually in the middle of the building. So you see where this is blocked out here? That is what we call our plenum area, and in that plenum will be two of these. And this is a manure drying system. They kind of sit lengthwise, and there'll be one, and then there'll be another one further back. One of them will be for, I'll call it the A side of the house. The other one will be for the B side of the house. So as the manure is taken back inside the system, so there's 3 rows like this of the aviary system. Those will take it to the back of the house, and then it comes back into one of these systems. It'll stay in here for 3 days. This belt is continuously moving back and forth like this. And it goes so slow that it'll be in there for 3 days. Air from the houses is pushed. The air doesn't go outside the side of these houses. It actually goes to the inside and blows into this chamber and dries that manure down. And then it gets taken out the back, out a back hallway. By the time it goes out, it's actually less than 20%. I mean, it's actually almost dust. In fact, I asked the company to characterize it for me, and he said, well, Rick, it's like coffee grounds. And I said, well, Jim, I'll be honest with you. When I clean my wife's coffee pot after, like, she makes coffee and I pull it out, it's kind of wet. And, like, that's what it's going to be? Oh, no. He said, I'm saying when you open a can of Folgers coffee, that's what it's going to be. I'm like, oh, so you're saying ground coffee, not coffee grounds. Oh, yeah, I guess that's right. And so I'm like, oh, well, he goes, actually, Rick, it looks like ground coffee. That's what it will look like. Because it actually, in this system, it actually gets pulverized. So it will actually be like a granular.
This conveyor belt, you have 2 of those
Tony.
in the middle, right?
No questions from the floor. You want to ask questions of Rick, you can ask him later.
But yes, everything will go out through the middle and through a hallway. In fact, I'll show you that next. Okay, so those systems are in the middle of each one of these. There's 2 of them. And then the conveyor will come through this hallway. The air from that center area will come through this hallway and all go into this manure storage building, okay? And get dumped in there. All 5 houses are like that. Right? So everything stays contained inside. And then this is what the inside, this is a cross section of that manure building. So there's the fans from that center area. It doesn't show it here, but there'd be a conveyor coming up like this and dumping it right about there, okay? And this air would come through here. So then we'll take that dry manure, remember it's less than 20%, we'll stockpile it in here, all right? This air will continue to go out over it and actually continue to keep it dry. Now the air has to go someplace, so it goes out the back. Now at the back end here is a curtain wall, and that's like a polyurethane curtain. And then there's static lines that actually charge that curtain, kind of like a dust collector that you might have in your furnace at home. And it'll actually put a negative charge on that material, And so any dust particles that do want to leave the building will get caught there, and then that just gets cleaned on a regular basis. So we do one more set of, I'll call it air purification, if you want to call it that, before air leaves this area. So we reduce the moisture down to where there virtually is, I don't want to say no odor because I can never say no odor. But I can tell you, I've had it in my hand, and you don't know you have manure in your hand. You know, it's more like dirt. You know, dirt doesn't have a smell really. So it's more like that. Let's see. Now, one thing we haven't ever talked about to you, and we would like to, and in particular to the board, as you consider your opinions on this tonight and weighing in with the county, is the financial impact that Daybreak brings to the community. You know, it goes without saying, we're a business that has an impact in the area. We decided to quantify that impact a little bit. And the numbers I'm going to share with you are hard numbers. These are not, we didn't do any estimates, we didn't do a 7-time trickle down of dollars. These are hard dollars that hit the community. Okay? We bought in the last year, this is current numbers, $1.8 million worth of corn within 20 miles of our farm. Okay? That went directly to farmers. Salaries and wages was $1.8 million. Okay? Local business to business. I mean, we took account numbers. I had people slaving on this for me. AP department did not like me for a while. And that was $2.2 million. And our property taxes right now are $82,000. That comes up to just shy of $6 million, okay? Projecting ahead, this is what, by the way, this is if the corn price doesn't go up. And if you're a farmer, you know it's gonna, right? It's cyclical, okay? So it may be low now, it won't stay low forever. Right? But if it stayed where it is right now, that number goes up to $5.2 million in dollars spent literally to local farmers. Salaries and wages will jump another $1 million. Local business to business, we plan to go up to at least $3.5 million. And I don't know what's going to happen with property tax. I put $200,000 and I put a plus sign after it because I have a hunch it's going to be more than that. But bottom line is that's going to turn into $12 million. That's in 1 year. That gets to people here. It's not going to Washington, it's not going to California, it's not going anywhere. It stays here. And that's not trickle down, that's like people, you know, if I spend it, and then you spend it, and then they spend it, and then they spend it in the restaurant. No, this is actual dollars spent, first time. Okay. So, I'd just like to tell you, and we're pretty proud of this. And I'm going to tell you something that we talk about a little bit internally that we don't mention externally very often. We feed people. I mean, Daybreak Foods feeds people. We're kind of a humble company, and we're proud that we get to participate to feed the world. With the number of birds that we have spread out kind of across the Midwest, we're pretty darn lucky to be part of a big food source for people, and it's very affordable. I mean, eggs, even if you're eating them in a restaurant, it's still a pretty good deal for what you get, and we get to be part of that. And it's surprising how some of the leadership in our company, I mean, we'll sit around a table and talk about just that, and we should be thankful for what we get to participate in. And so it just means a lot to us to be able to do this. And we sincerely appreciate the fact that we get to be in Lake Mills, and I'm really happy. I know Keith is ecstatic. He's got one of these pictures up on his wall of what the new farm is going to look like. And we couldn't be more proud to be able to do it. Someone said at the meeting last Friday that if this is legendary Lake Mills, we don't want it to be a legendary smelly area. Okay, we couldn't agree more. And the last thing we would want to be is the source of that. This will change everything. That's pretty much what I have to say. Real quickly, schedule. I thought it might be worth just going through the schedule for everybody. So what I did here, the red line, so these are dates, the red line, anything above the red line is already done, okay? So here's today's meeting. This is blue mark, February 13th, town board meeting, okay? Anything in blue is township, anything in green is county, anything in yellow is us, all right? So this is happening today. On Thursday the 15th, mark your calendar, we have a Plan Commission public hearing. It's already been scheduled. Okay, we'd love you to be there. Okay, and they're going to discuss the conditional use permit application that we have in place. And by the way, for that permit application, we went through the siting process. And if you want to know what siting looks like, that's what this is. All of that is siting right there. After that, the Jefferson County will vote on the conditional use permit, and that'll be on March 26th. If everything goes smoothly for us, and we sincerely hope it does, we would like to apply for our building permit shortly after that, in early April. All right. Then we're going to come back to this body again, back to the blue. We're going to come back, and we're going to be talking about the over-the-road conveyor and the under the wastewater piping system that we talked about. We're having our engineer draw up plans and that kind of thing, so as that gets closer, we'll work with your plan commission and with you.
Those dates are going to change. April 3rd is an election, so they're not going to meet.
Oh,
that day.
really? Oh,
And,
good.
and in April, the town board meets the third Thursday instead of the second by statute, so
Oh.
you'll have to adjust those two days.
Oh, thank you. I might ask you to send me an email.
I might ask you to send me that.
Yeah, I
too.
think we need this in our file too.
Okay, okay. We anticipate on starting our excavation in the middle of April. And then shortly after that, we would be looking for the board to approve whatever agreement we can possibly put together. We are not taking that for granted. Currently, our attorney is working with the town's attorney to at least start on an agreement, but there's a lot to go into that, a lot of engineering, a lot of agreement. We've even asked the county engineers to look at it for us, to say, like, you know, would this be built for, say, county or state standards, is what we're trying to do, to make sure it meets anybody's standards.
When you say county engineers, are you talking about the highway department?
Yes, correct. Brian's name starts with...
Yubovich.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. I can never say it right. Okay, so some other dates that aren't on here for you. If as planned, we would put the first pullets into the first pullet buildings in November of 2018. The first layers would go in, I hate this, February, I believe, of 19. Okay. We would be completed with the last birds going into the houses would be August of 2020, and all construction would be complete December. That includes demo of all the existing buildings in December of 2020. So by the winter of 2020, we're done. And it's a big project.
Winter 21.
Yeah. But, well, yeah, by January of 21, we should be done. There'll be snow on the ground.
Okay, that's really
So-
good, Rick.
All right. Thank you very much. Did I shut this off?
Yes, but would you please send us that email, and then Sarah and I can work on those other dates for you?
Absolutely.
You understand that we have an election on Tuesday the 3rd, and our normal meeting would be the 10th, but because it's our annual meeting, we are by statute, because of elections, the 3rd week in April, so.
We'll obviously we'll work with...
Okay, you send us that, all right? You guys have any questions for Rick? I guess what I would like to do tonight is read this letter that we received from the Jefferson County Land and Water Conservation Department dated January 30th, 2018, which is, subject of this letter is the completeness determination of the application for an expanded livestock facility. And I'll read some of it to you. The Land and Water Conservation Department has reviewed the application worksheets and supplemental information submitted on December 18th, January 2nd, 22nd, 24th, 25th, and 29th for a proposed livestock expansion of their facility located at Crossman Road in the town of Lake Mills. After reviewing the application, maps, worksheets, construction specifications, and supplemental information, the Land and Water Conservation Department has determined that all of the requirements have been fulfilled. We recommend that the Zoning and Planning Committee find the application from Daybreak Foods to be complete. A summary of the expansion plans: Daybreak Farms plans to increase their livestock numbers from 1,800,000 chickens to 2,750,000 chickens, or 27,500 animal units. This expansion will include 5 new cage-free layer barns, and the removal of 9 existing layer barns, 3 new chicken pullet barns and 1 existing pullet barn, and the removal of 2 existing pullet barns, 1 new manure storage facility and associated manure transfer systems from the 5 new layer barns, 1 new manure storage facility for the pullet manure, 2 existing manure compost buildings that will be used for manure if there is an emergency situation. 1 existing compost building will be closed. Requested permit requirement. The Land and Water Conservation Department urges the Zoning and Planning Committee to require the following statements be added to the new permit if granted. Annual nutrient management plans updates will be submitted to the Land and Water Conservation Department by September 30th of each year for the following crop year. These updates shall account for any nutrients applied to farmland. The Land and Water Conservation must be informed of the pre-construction conference and when work will begin on the manure storage structures. Per Jefferson County Zoning Ordinance 11.05D, 2.d, the manure storage structure certification shall be filed at least 10 days prior to population of the facilities by the animal unit count approved under the permit. As-built should be sent to the Land and Water Conservation Department upon certification. Per livestock sighting law, which is ATCP 51.82, within 2 years the livestock operator must begin populating the approved facility and begins construction on every new or expanded livestock housing structure, as well as every new or expanded waste storage structure proposed in the application. Any alterations or additions to the operation after the permit is issued that changes one of the worksheets or application requirements, a permit update or new livestock sighting application, depending on the circumstance. And if there are any questions, there is a number to be forwarded to. So my take on this is that the permit that you have filed is deemed complete by the Land and Water Conservation Office, and that these last 5 bullet points that I read are the conditions that the county will be placing on you. The nutrient management, the beginning of the structures, anything that you haven't completed in 2 years, all of those things would require you to go back and go through the livestock sighting again. And we received this letter just the first part of February. One of the questions that I have for you guys, and I think it is a question that all of our neighbors are asking too, is how are you going to communicate now with the town board? Is there some structure that we could create in the future that would help us to understand where you're at? Could we ask you to do semi-annual reports or an annual report so that we can stay in touch with what the neighborhood concerns are, what our concerns as a board are, and where you're at here in your timeline? I think I'll give you a lot of credit for putting the timeline together. That helps us to understand where this is going and when it's going to happen. I think it would be a good practice for us to think about some kind of a annual way to catch up with each other.
I can tell you that we have some other sites where we do that with the local community as well. So, in fact, I think it's done every 6 months. Sure.
There are 2 times in the life of the town in a year that we group together, and that is really the citizens meeting. One of them is in November when we do our highway expenditures. We approve them. That is a meeting driven by the citizens. They have to approve the budget for our highway expenditures. And the other meeting is our annual meeting, which is in April, and we talked about those dates, the 3rd week in April. And during that, the reason that has been moved to that 3rd week is because usually there are some elected seats the first part of April in the April election, and then the entire board could change. And then it's kind of a reorganization of the town board at that meeting. And that would be a good time for citizens to present questions. We could create a forum to do that ahead of time. You could give us some kind of a presentation, and I think that would be a really good thing for us to kind of know where you're at and what you're doing. I think that that comes at good times of the year for you too, doesn't it? I'd like to see us put something like that into practice. You guys have questions?
I know last Thursday at the meeting, you mentioned the odor meter. Is that?
Yes.
You didn't mention that at all tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, in fact, I would have ordered it today, literally ordered it today, but I was waiting to get a couple questions answered by, remember Bobby Harris gave one of the presentations? Yes, it's called a Nasal Ranger. It's made by a company in Minnesota. And what we're doing is we're going to order this piece of equipment. I was at a DNR meeting last Friday, and I talked to Mark Kane, who is actually our contact with DNR, and I mentioned it to Mark, and Mark said, oh yeah, well if you get that, let me know. He goes, because I've had a lot of experience with those sorts of things, so he said, I'll help you get it working. And what it is, it's basically a device that quantifies odor. It's the best way I can put it. You know, is it a perfect science? No. Right now it's kind of like the best science, and you can actually quantify an answer from it, okay? So I actually was on the phone 3 times with the company. I expect to actually place the order tomorrow. I would have placed it today. Place the order tomorrow. She said they have them in stock. It takes less than a week to get, and then we have to set up the training. They do webinar training on it, and we'll set that up. Right now I've got it kind of like preliminary schedule of it for next Friday for our team, and we'll train probably 4 or 5 team members to do it. So yes, good follow-up question. Yes, we'll have that. That equipment will also send information to the cloud, so you can, you know, like document and trend results. A question was asked at the meeting last week, would we share those results? And I think Bobby's answer was yes, we'll share them with the CBE. Am I saying that correctly? The community group, you know, it'll help us to also quantify what's going on. And what I anticipate, and I might be jumping the gun on this a little bit, but we'll set up standard monitoring points around the farm. But I'd also like to set up some points off the farm to take measurements off the farm as well. And there's a device that you get with it that it measures like wind speed, temperature, the actual current weather condition when you took the test. Not from the internet. I mean, it's done from the device itself. So it's very good equipment.
Can I ask a question about the cremator?
Yes.
Where will that be located in your new site plan?
Between, I'm sorry.
On the new plan or currently?
Well, currently, where are you going to put it, and then where are you going to put it when you move it?
We're gonna put it by the compost buildings currently.
And then when you get up and running, will it be over here by the layer buildings? Or
Yes. Exactly.
is there, I know that it has a second stage burner on it, but is there any other effluent that comes from that you need to handle?
Just dry material,
And that would get spread with normal manure, or that will,
be blended with the compost.
you guys have any more questions?
You had suggested that you were only going to burn Monday through Friday. I guess, what's the capacity of each?
No, not, the cremator might run 5 or 7 days a week.
Yeah, because I was going to suggest.
Yeah.
Because in the summertime and Saturday and Sunday, you know, it needs to be current, but what are they doing?
Well, I'm sorry. Are you talking about the cremator or the
Cremator.
Oh.
Because you're not going to store your chickens
No.
unless you're going to refrigerate
No,
them. Saturday and Sundays,
we'd rather run it every day.
You know,
And that's why we bought this model, because it has a secondary burner, so there is no noticeable effluent coming off of it.
Right.
They said there's no smoke, there's no odor, it has that secondary burner, so.
Okay, the capacity of each one is
Uh,
per an hour.
Well, you do them by batch. So the larger units are 600 pounds. It's actually called a 600X. And the one that will eventually buy them for the pullet site will be a 400. Okay, so we'll have 2 600s over at the layer site. We bought one of them now. The first one we bought is the 600 because we have about 880,000 birds layers right now. So that'll match up to that capacity. And then eventually that one will get moved over. We buy a second one for that site, and then we buy a smaller one for the pullet site.
You can still burn off every single day. You don't need 400 pounds and 600
Correct.
pounds.
Just be a smaller batch.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
One of the other questions I have on some of the other conditions for the conditional use, the county has here, you have in here for, on the feed mill, that you're suggesting you're gonna be putting a 250,000 bushel bin, corn storage bin on your new mill. And I guess it doesn't make any difference to me, but if you decide to put out more than that, then you're coming back in and having this redone. Wouldn't you rather like have a million bushel on there or something?
Absolutely.
I mean, why?
Music to my ears.
I'm in the same position. I have a conditional use permit that says I can have 800,000.
Right.
And I'm looking at going over $1 million, so I have to go back in and redo it. So, I mean, it's no big deal to me.
It's just money.
Yeah, right.
Well, what he's saying though is we
But
can,
250,000
we can
bushel.
put
is-
$1 million on there, we just don't have to build it.
Yeah, you don't have to build it. It's
We're just
just
getting-
that would be what your
It was
conditional use
listed in
permit
the
would say. you're
Well,
allowed to
if
have.
I understand it though, the conditional use doesn't have anything to do with the feed mill.
Because
it's not livestock. It's not livestock.
Oh, and it's not going to be A2, is it?
It's not, I just need a building permit for that, I wouldn't need it.
Okay, all right, gotcha. I'm thinking of an A2 zone.
Right.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, I think we're at the point where we need to have a motion. So I will make that motion. I would motion to approve,
Read it off here. What the county wrote? Or not?
yes, why don't you read that?
Daybreak Foods, Inc. for reconstruction and expansion of the current chicken layer and pullet facility requesting 27,500 animal units over 7 parcels on County Road A and Crossman Road.
That would be my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Now, is there any discussion among the board members? You're clicking, Dave. Hearing none. All in favor of approving the motion on the floor, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. The motion is passed, and we look forward to working with you in the future. I would like to keep the lines of communication open with you guys and also with the county, and also with the citizens of Lake Mills. So as we go forward, your comments are always welcome to this board.
For each entrance off the Crossman Road, you'll have to apply for a access permit. Give me a call when you're ready. Don't forget, you're gonna need a excavation permit. That'll come along with, if you decide to put in your force main.
Is that something through the township also?
Yes.
All right?
While you're talking about it,
Sure. Why don't we take about 3 or 4 minutes? You guys pack up your stuff, and then we'll go back to our old business part of the agenda. I'd like to bring the meeting back to order. We need to finish our agenda tonight. Item number 9, old business, discussion and decision on an intergovernmental agreement with Cambridge Fire and EMS, if available. Not really ready yet.
Yep, we haven't done anything. The meeting's gonna be on the 19th of February.
And I do have it posted.
I did see that, yeah. So there may be a couple other things added to that agenda. Also, but there are already items that we've already talked about a little bit. We did receive a letter from Mike Rump on a couple things I've mentioned. One, it says, how much has your community pledged towards the purchase of the fire truck? How much has the fire department pledged towards the fire truck? What other funds and grants are requested that have been applied for? Has your municipality considered a referendum to voters regarding the purchase of this vehicle? One thing on the referendum, the commissioners are not government, so we cannot request a referendum. It has to be done by the individual municipalities. Let's see, Has your municipality considered merging with other fire departments in other municipalities? If the truck is purchased, is there room for the existing, is there room for it in the existing structure? I guess we've talked a little about a lot of this stuff, but I guess my position all along has been that right now at this time, we are not willing to invest any more money than what our percentage of equalized value that's in the Cambridge Fire District. Unless something changes, I know there's a lot of issues when it comes to staffing. And there was a meeting today among directors for the combination for Deer Grove and the town of Deerfield and Cambridge Fire District to get a larger spread. But just so you're aware, we as a group have done everything that we possibly can to keep our budget as tight as we could, which now is coming back to haunt us because we have not put enough money away. Expenses are getting higher, so you can expect that there's going to be some big changes probably in the next 6 months. So anyway, that's my position when I sit on those on that board. Unless you guys have a different idea, that's what I'm kind of holding up for. But there is, we went to the Cambridge Foundation because we usually get a lot of grant money from them. Matt Kenseth has retired, so he doesn't give us money anymore. So, and expenses are just getting high. So, I don't really know. Hope I know you read this letter. I'm not sure if we're really supposed to answer this or it was just an FYI, but.
I think it was just to stir you up and get you thinking about it.
So anyway, I'm sure we'll be talking about that next Monday night. So along with the intergovernmental agreement.
And that's when your meeting is, Monday?
Yep, Monday the 19th at 6:30.
Okay. Guess that brings us up to date there. Item B is an update on ordinance cleanup. I'm not sure that you guys got the email, but as we were working through the North Shore condo, I asked our engineer Corey Horton with R.A. Smith, as he was reviewing the driveway ordinance and the subdivision ordinance, if he would make a few notes for us. And he indeed did that for us. Okay. And so we have some more material to work on. I know you're still working on the raising ordinance, but I think it would be good if we could look at the points that he brought forward and spend a little time on that this winter at the planning commission level.
It'd be interesting to see because that driveway ordinance has been beat up so many times,
Yeah.
but it's not that new stuff doesn't show up all the time. But one question I was going to ask you before, Lee, is on this raising ordinance, is this only for R1 and R2?
It's just residential, yeah.
Okay, all right, because otherwise,
Because you see, where was something about the size of the property, it mentioned there somewhere, there's a line. It was over, there's somewhere, it's on the other side. Permit expiration, exemption. Detached accessory really is not used for human
habitation.
habitation.
I was just concerned I didn't want it to be involving into agricultural buildings in the country because that would become quite restrictive. So as long as it's only for R1 and R2 and rural hamlets.
So I guess we'll have to talk about that as we get closer to it.
Yeah, it might be
called
something-
out separately as that, because, all there is, there's that exception that's saying you're allowed to tear down a detached garage type of stuff without.
Right, without having.
Just trying to come up with some way to
And I
regulate
know it does
that.
need to be done because I've seen a couple that get kind of messy.
So we can look forward to that. I'll get that email out to you guys so you can take a look at it. I thought he did a nice job. Corey is willing to help us with that, so I think that would be a real good place for us if we need some special help from him, to call on him. He's familiar with what's going on now. Item C, an update on highway expenditures and grants. I see we have our December snowplow bill to the tune of 10 grand. And I have not heard anything about any of the other grants. I'm pretty sure we'll get the grant for what am I trying to say?
Rock Lake Road?
No, the grant
Korth?
for Korth, because that's kind of a given. But the Rock Lake Road one, we probably won't hear about until March or April, so. That's the update. I did spend a little time right around with Scott Construction. We kind of narrowed down a list of crack filling and seal coating that we might propose, so we can look at that during our spring tour. And also followed up with Payne and Dolan to see where they might be at cost-wise for airport. We can break that into a couple sections for us, so we can take a look at that as we get a little closer. Item 10, new business. A, discussion and decision on 2017 budget amendments.
I need to ask for some help. We had some changes that we didn't know were coming. So when we did our budgeting for 2017, we had a few things that when we got the bill for them, they were significantly more than we knew they were going to be, and with no recourse. And specifically, they are the Lake Mills Fire Department charged us $19,403 more than we anticipated. And the other ones was legal, which, you know, we had a couple of issues that Leverton and Sewell have had to deal with. Elections, the county didn't bill us for the 2016 August and November until 2017. What else? Cable, the cable TV site, the bill was over $6,000 more than anticipated, and that doesn't come until the end of the year. We also had we did a little bit of work at the boat launch, but that comes from, you know, that fund, so that's not a big deal. So ultimately, we have more to cover than I can move around like we normally do. We normally just move it from one expense category to the next. I mean, granted, we also had more revenue than we budgeted, so I haven't been in this situation before, and I need to know what the proper way to handle that is. Do we just use the cash applied? Do we pull it from the revenue? What's appropriate here?
If there's an account that we are already overdrawn on, we have to vote to move the money from either one account into there, or we have to go to the general fund and refund that account.
Which is what cash applied would be, it's just from the general fund?
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
You just can't move it around because the budget was approved. So that's really kind of about it. So, yeah.
So do I itemize it? Like, I can't do it like I've always done it. Do I do each piece and say it's from the general fund?
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I would say, right, Sharon, that's the way it has to be done, because we just can't, it has to be appropriated to that account.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. I just,
So-
like, you know, like I said, normally it's just moved from one account to another within the expenditures.
And-
This time it's coming from the cumulative, I mean, we've cash applied a ton over the
Yeah.
last few years, so it's not a big deal. It's just I didn't know how to
Right. And
word
if I-
it, what to do.
If I remember correctly, according to the Towns Association, that has to be done before the check is wrote to that account. It needs to be funded. So sometimes it gets to be a little bit after the fact, I know,
Yeah.
but it's not supposed to, but it happens to everybody.
Okay,
So, yeah,
okay, so I will have those officially done.
that's the way I
Like I
understand
said,
it
I
works,
just didn't
right?
know how it's supposed to work,
Okay,
so,
that's good.
okay.
Like to see that fire bill.
But now you know what I mean about
It's
surprises.
something we dealt with, you know, last year.
Every year we get a bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they tell us what we owe, and we still actually don't have the new one. I asked their treasurer, because I thought that I had missed something, but she said she hadn't gotten them out yet, so
Okay,
it's coming,
all right.
it's coming. We'll be paying that one in March.
All right, item B, discussion and decision on a text amendment to the Jefferson County zoning ordinance, section 11-11A4, to comply with Wisconsin statutes regarding appointment of the head of county zoning agency. I don't know anything about this.
Well, I did get some comments from the plan commission after the
Yeah,
fact.
the planning commission approved it via email.
Yep. And Mr. Nass, I think, said it pretty well, boiled it
Yeah.
down here. Pull it up here. The language was a requested update by our county administrator and corporate counsel to allow us more cross-training abilities and update our ordinance with state statutes. We are doing this now because Rob Platt's retired and we are in the hiring process for 2 people.
All right.
It really looked like a housekeeping type of thing to me.
Right.
So what are we expected to do?
The decision sheet says, approve or disapprove for Jefferson County for a text amendment to the Jefferson County zoning ordinance, section 11-11A4, to comply with Wisconsin statutes.
All right.
And it's specific-
I will motion to approve a text amendment to the Jefferson County zoning ordinance, section 11-11-A4, to comply with Wisconsin state statutes.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving this motion, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Board expense sheet approval. I just have this one, which was a registered letter that I sent.
I updated the sheet for the current mileage.
Well, I wondered about that.
Oh,
Thank you. All right. Now, correspondence.
wow, we get a raise this year.
Yep.
3 cents.
Yeah, really.
We have advertisement for an implement dealer, which I thought was interesting. We did the ditch mowing by contract last year. I think we're planning on doing it by contract again this year, right?
Yeah,
We're
that
gonna
was-
sell the tractor, so, but that, I brought it up anyway. We have a thank you for participating in the Jefferson County Solid Waste and Air Quality Committee with the grant program that they do for Clean Sweep. Those dates will be coming up in April, I believe. Some educational opportunities with the local land use planning and zoning through the UW Extension, if anybody wants to look at those. Rock River Reflections newsletter and Alliant newsletter, and that is correspondence.
Okay. Meeting schedule. February 20th, 2018 is the spring primary, which we will be participating in. The polling hours are from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. that Tuesday, February 20th. March 6th is the Planning Commission meeting at 8 o'clock. March 6th is also the Joint Rock Lake Committee at 6. March 15th, I think we should put on there, that is the county zoning meeting, the
Yeah.
public hearing, so you might want to post
I
that.
have it written down already, yeah.
Okay, and then March 13th is our regular town board meeting at 8. Item 13 is the adjournment of the meeting. I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor, please say aye. Meeting